Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews, where we don't talk about politics during our movies. And tonight we are doing
We want
Night.
to.
My name is Chuck.
We want to. My name is Will. This
I love
movie.
it.
This movie.
Okay, so Will, you're going first because Lee and I have already seen this. Remember, we're doing it spoiler free.
Spoiler free, fine. Spoiler free, fine. I will say this. I don't know his name. I wish I looked it up before we
David Harbour?
No, not David. The head thief, the head bad
John
guy.
Leguizamo.
Yes. I'm telling you right now, this movie should have been made 30 years ago. Joe Pesci in that role would have been amazing. It would have been fantastic. I feel like this role was originally intended for Joe Pesci. He channeled everything that was amazing about Joe Pesci in every Scorsese film I've ever seen. This character was fantastic. I just wish it was 30 years younger. That way it could have actually been Joe Pesci. I think that would have been fantastic. Outside of that, this movie's amazing. I love this movie.
Joe Pesci now.
I knew you would like it.
I love this movie.
You would like
this movie. Was fantastic. It was stupid. It was funny. The humor was all in the right spots. The pacing of this movie was fantastic. No scene overstayed its welcome, but at the same time, it wasn't like cut. Like they let everything breathe in a really awesome way. I love like the backstory that they decided to give to Santa Claus. I think it's ridiculous, but it's fantastic. It is fantastic. And of course, it would. Of course, yes, it's amazing. There are certain characters in here that I loathe, that I wanted so badly something bad to happen to, and it didn't. That was the only thing that really bothered me. Like, I was like, this rich family, this whole dynamic bothers me. And this is like, I hate this kind of money. And I wanted, like, please just let something, I don't want them to die, but let's let something really bad happen. Like they lose a limb or something. Let something happen to these people, like to smack them upside the head and shaping them up. Nope, didn't happen at all.
No.
The Home Alone feel was funnier. This little girl, I'm not gonna compare this little girl to Macaulay Culkin, because only Macaulay Culkin would have been able to pull something like that off, and he did it brilliantly when he was a kid. I'm not gonna do that here, but for what this was, like for what she did, this little girl did, like channeling the Home Alone thing, was fantastic. It was awesome. There was one thing that happened to one of these poor guys that I'll never be able to get out of my mind. But yes, those are my opening thoughts about this movie without getting into too many spoilers. I loved it. It was the right amount of action. It was the right amount of violence and blood that I love in movies like this. Recently, over the past like maybe 10 years, like certain studios and like Hollywood in general has gotten away from doing the tropey, typical holiday Christmas movie. And they're venturing into other territories where you're having like really over the top comedy or physical comedy movies, or in this case, something a little bit more violent. And I'm thinking all the way back, like what, 10, 15 years ago when Bad Santa came out, like was the jumping point for doing something different with Christmas. And I think that's kind of cool. You know, you can only push the Scrooge or the Miracle on 34th Street, or, you know, or the what's the other movie, the other Christmas trope, whatever. You can only push that for so far before things get really old and tired and nobody really wants to see those kind of things anymore. You have to go into different territories, and I feel like right now, like, Christmas movies are kind of awesome, and this is one of the reasons why I thought this was fantastic. And that's my opening spiel. So Chuck, thank you very much for recommending this. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Lee, your thoughts?
My thoughts. Well, in this order, this movie for me is Bad Santa meets the Santa Claus meets Die Hard meets Home Alone. And then it just kind of keeps on cycling through it. The Home Alone scene, which was like only 3 minutes, I forgot how funny it was. I was watching it at work, and I've got my headphones on. I'm sitting there. I'm laughing out loud. People think I'm insane because I'm just sitting there laughing at my lunch, because I forgot how ridiculous. Like that guy who got everything that he deserved, got everything he deserved, and it was perfect.
Quick question: were you laughing during your lunch or at your lunch?
I was during my lunch. I said laughing at my lunch because I have my phone here and my lunch here, so people thought I was probably laughing at my food. They probably didn't. That's what I was saying. I was like, laughing at my lunch.
Sitting
But-
there with the salad. You get the ranch
Yep.
dressing, and you just start laughing.
It was lentil soup.
With ranch dressing.
Shut up. So, this movie was definitely better the second time. First time I watched it, I was definitely multitasking when I watched it because there were things I picked up here I didn't pick up the first time. Little things, and even just the feel of it was much more. I know I've shared it before. I think I shared it just recently again. Is when you watch something a second time, you get more detail, and you've already gotten past that whatever hesitancy, or unsure of what you're getting into. Once you get past all that, then it starts to make a lot more sense. So going into this knowing what I'm going to be getting, I was able to just enjoy it for what it was. And yeah, this movie is definitely one that I'll probably revisit every few years just for fun.
Every few, I'll watch this every single
Of course
Christmas
you will.
season.
Yes.
I will watch this
Yes.
every year.
This will
for
be in the
Christmas.
rotation of Christmas movies that I will watch every year. Absolutely.
This movie is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Dreamcatcher, but
well, that I'll watch every year.
Wow.
I will never, ever watch that movie again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sit there and always look for Christmas movies, but around this time, eyebrows.
Do you?
Eyebrows.
Eyebrows?
But yeah, David Harbour
Fantastic.
was perfect for this role.
I'm actually really happy for him. He's getting kind of a career going for himself.
He is.
So
Yeah, I mean, he started his career pretty late in life. I mean, he's not a spring chicken.
Not at
to put
all.
In a cliche way, but I mean, the people they had in here, John Leguizamo, I think for the time was a great choice.
Yes.
You've got a character in there who plays the character Morgan Steele, which is basically, cliche action star or whatever. They actually said that he was kind of spoofing Mark Wahlberg. That was his point, was to spoof Mark Wahlberg. He makes that line about like, oh, if I was on the plane during 9/11, I would have taken them all out. Remember how Wahlberg said that, and then he had to apologize
Did he really?
for being insensitive? Huh? You didn't hear about that?
I don't
It's
remember
like, if I was
this.
on that plane, I would have taken him out and blah blah blah. And then he came back like a week later and apologized. It was ridiculous.
He put in the movie Never Back Down
Okay, yep. He looked familiar.
with the Tom Cruise wannabe, where he
Okay.
actually is like a martial artist.
The other thing was Brendan Fletcher. He plays Krampus in this. Remember, he was in that movie Rampage. He's been in a bunch of stuff actually. I remember him from like Freddy vs. Jason. Will, you remember Rampage? That you told me about that one, where he just basically just goes out and buys a bunch of army gear and just shoots everybody up because he just loses his mind. He's the same character in this
Yes,
movie.
Pretty much.
He's a
Pretty
sociopath.
much.
He's the exact same character here.
There's a scene in that movie Rampage where he's on the street and he's going nuts and he's just shooting everybody and he wanders into a bingo hall and they don't bat an eye at him. They're so focused on playing bingo and he just sits down and he starts eating a sandwich and he walks
Yeah.
out.
Yep. I do remember that. It was very, very strange. But yeah, I mean, all in all, definitely worth the watch. Could have done without the language, but that's always my stance. And when we talked about it before, and we're like, oh, of course it's gory. I'm like, I wouldn't call it gory. I'd call it bloody. I wouldn't call it gory. When I think gore, I think like you see a lot. Well, okay, the chimney scene. I guess there's that. I don't know. For some reason, gore just doesn't fit the description.
The
for
Home
me.
Alone scene was pretty.
The Home Alone scene
It's
was
great,
just,
but it's pretty.
The
yeah.
nail.
We watched that up on the hill.
The nail.
The nail. Oh,
The
Yeah.
nail.
the nail.
I'll never. How we'll get there. How
Which nail?
stupid.
The
How
first nail
stupid.
or the second nail?
Both.
Yeah, the second nail was stupid. The first one was perfectly executed because
Yes.
of the way that he handled it. But
Ooh.
we'll get into that when we get into it.
Ugh.
Anyway, Will, your thoughts?
I
Joel
just
gave
I,
his
I gave my thoughts. It's Chuck's turn.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Chuck, your thoughts. I'm thinking we were not the last episode.
He's thinking he's back to just you guys doing the podcast without me even here anymore.
No, I'm
It's
thinking.
been 4 years and I don't exist. No, I'm just,
Oh, by the way, remember Mike, my neighbor who joined us?
yes.
Yeah, he was at Christmas at the Crossing last
Oh,
night,
cool.
and it was funny. I'm just like, oh, do you see? Chuck's here. He's, oh yeah, he just served me some food, and I'm like, really? Oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, I didn't know his face, but I recognized his voice right away.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. People know me by my voice now.
Yeah,
That's
I thought that was
awesome.
pretty funny.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he came up and got some food for his girls.
That's cool. I recommended this movie. My first time watching it last year. I went to my
You
wife.
took your wife.
I said, no. I said, hey, we're going on a date. I said, hey, we should rewatch the first Avatar, and then we should go out and watch Avatar 2 because it's in the theaters.
Mhm.
And she's like, I really don't like Avatar. And I was like,
Yeah,
well, it's really
she
the only
loved
thing good.
this.
She goes, well, there's a movie called Violent Night. We should go watch that. So I pulled up the trailer and I'm like, are you sure? Like, do you really want to watch this? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't think you're going to like this movie. She's like, are you? No. I'm like, no. I really don't think you're going to like this. She's like, we'll go. So we go there. We leave the theater, and I was like, this is one of the best Christmas movies out there. And she's like, I hate this movie. I'm like, I told you. She's like, it was so gruesome. I'm like, it was fantastic. Again, aside from I'm not a huge language person either. Aside from the language, I'm like, everything was executed perfectly. You say Bad Santa and all this stuff. I will agree with most of that, but you got to toss Thor in there too.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Santa becomes Thor.
Was Thor?
He becomes Thor again. It's fantastic. And this is one of those. And this was an action movie. I recommend it because we don't usually do action movies, but this is not a bang. This is not a bit like a bang bang boom boom blow them up kind of movie. This actually has a storyline. There is, there's breaks in between the action. Everybody has something different that's going on. I mean, the bad guys in the beginning are so on the nose, the bad guys, that you can always tell, like, from the start of the film. But overall, I absolutely fell in love with this movie my first viewing with it. And then watching it again this year, I loved it even more. I've talked to a bunch of guys, and they're like, this movie is awesome. Like, this is a guy movie.
Yes.
This is hands down a guy. This is going to be up there with Die Hard for me. Like, it's a guy movie.
I could see that. I could see that. Well,
it's fantastic. It's fantastic through and through. The dialogue in here, like how idiotic some people are, like you were saying to their, some of the family members. You have the mom who is just like, I want to wring her neck half the movie.
yeah.
The daughter, you want to punch her in the face because she's an idiot. So many things that are going on. I a little caveat. I don't want to punch any woman in the face. Just people are listening to this. I want to make that right now.
I was getting ready to make a meme.
Yeah, we don't. We do not. We
I don't advocate for punching women in the face.
Nor does
No.
he advocate.
no.
But just in this move or throttling people and strangling them in their neck, it's just this. Outside of him and his wife, the rest of the family are idiots and imbeciles, and they're all stupid.
Everybody in this movie is an idiot and an imbecile. The team that gets put together for this
It's
robbery. They're so
fantastic.
stupid. They're so stupid. This is the most incompetent crew I've ever seen in a movie. It's amazing.
Well, so let's do this. How far are we into the
Yeah,
conversation?
we're about 25 minutes, somewhere around there.
Perfect. So let's take this time. If you want to catch the rest of the conversation, check us out on Patreon. So just to get into it.